At 100 hours, on March 25, 2026, somewhere near Ukraine's northern border, a ground crew wheels out what looks like something you'd see at a hobbyist airfield, a high-wing ultralight with a 10-meter wingspan, a Rotax engine pushing maybe 100 horsepower, and a 250-kilogram bomb slung under its belly. It's an A-22 Foxbat, a two-seat sport plane designed in Kiev, stripped of its seats and manual controls, and converted into an autonomous long-range bomber. It costs less than $100,000, and in about 4 hours, it's going to teach Russia a billion-dollar lesson. And it's not alone. Across multiple launch sites, hundreds of drones are being prepared for one of the largest Ukrainian drone attack on Russian territory. 389 will be launched before dawn. Most are decoys and diversions, sent screaming into Bryansk, Belgorod, and Crimea to overwhelm air defenses and pin down radar operators across a 2,000-kilometer front. But the ones that matter, the ones targeting the real objectives, are heading somewhere nobody expects. Their destination is 900 kilometers away, on the shores of the Baltic Sea, a facility most people have never heard of, but one that pumps more oil revenue into Russia's war budget than most countries earn in a year. By 1:30, the first wave of long-range drones is airborne and heading north into Russian airspace. They climb to low cruise altitude and level off, high enough to clear terrain and obstacles, low enough to sit in the dead zone, where conventional air search radars struggle to pick them out from ground clutter. At these altitudes, every building, tree, and power line below creates radar returns that swamp the signal from a slow-moving ultralight. On paper, the airspace between Ukraine's border and the Gulf of Finland is one of the most heavily monitored on the planet. Russia has over 400 radar sites spread across its territory. Along the western approaches, long-range S-400 Triumph batteries scan the skies with engagement radars that can theoretically track targets out to 400 kilometers and launch missiles to 250 kilometers. Closer in, Buk M1 systems are designed to engage targets at altitudes as low as 30 meters. For point defense around critical infrastructure, Panzer S-1 units carry both 30mm autocannons and short-range missiles specifically optimized for slow, low-flying targets, exactly the kind of threat these drones represent. And blanketing the electromagnetic spectrum, Russia operates at least 14 dedicated electronic warfare units, including Krasuka-4 mobile jamming systems, and the massive Murmansk BN complexes that can theoretically disrupt navigation signals across 300 kilometers. Any drone flying a straight line through this gauntlet should be detected, tracked, jammed, and destroyed long before it gets anywhere near the Baltic coast. But Russia's air defenses aren't evenly distributed. Along the conventional southern corridor through Bryansk and Kursk, radar stations, EW systems, and missile batteries are stacked so densely that any drone group would be detected and engaged across the entire flight path. After years of Ukrainian strikes through this corridor, Russia knows exactly what to look for and exactly where to look. The problem is, these drones aren't flying that corridor. They're pushing north, where Russia's radar coverage thins out, and the sheer distance means air defense batteries are spread across hundreds of kilometers instead of stacked on top of each other. By the early hours of March 25th, the air defense crews around the Leningrad Oblast are already on edge. Governor Drozdenko has had the region on high alert since March 22nd, when Ukrainian drones struck the oil port at Primorsk, just up the coast. The operators at a Panzer S-1 battery near Ust-Luga are running a familiar drill. Their search radar sweeps the sky every few seconds, scanning for returns out to 30 or 40 kilometers. The thermal imaging channel is powered up, ready to pick up engine heat signatures against the cold Baltic night. Tonight, every screen is clean, no contacts from the south, no contacts from the east. The radars show exactly what they showed yesterday: commercial air traffic at altitude, background noise, nothing actionable. But radar is only half of Russia's defense. Across its northwestern territory, the Leningrad Oblast is blanketed with GPS jamming and spoofing. The Murmansk BN complexes can theoretically disrupt navigation signals across 300 kilometers. Any drone relying on satellite coordinates should be sent spiraling into the Russian countryside. This is where Ukrainian engineering answers the question Russia thought it had already solved. The drones don't need GPS. Over 2 years of iteration, Ukrainian engineers have developed visual navigation systems that work entirely without external signals. One system, Oscar, the optical system of coordinates with automatic relocalization, uses an onboard camera to match live imagery of the terrain below against preloaded satellite maps. The drone reads the ground like a human reads a road, recognizing rivers, roads, coastlines, and building patterns to fix its position in real time. Ukraine's converted sport plane bomber, the A-22 Foxbat, supported by AN-196 drones, navigates through GPS-spoofed zones, evades Pantsir, Buk, and S-300 systems. Back at the Pantsir battery, outside Ust-Luga, at around 3:50, a colleague reports something odd. An acoustic sensor has triggered, but there's nothing on radar to match it. 10 minutes later, the first explosions light up the Novatek terminal. The drones came in low, below the radar horizon, navigating without any signal the electronic warfare systems could detect or disrupt. By the time anyone sees them, they're already inside the minimum engagement range. The battery that was supposed to protect this port never fires a shot. The target is the Novatek Fractionation and Transshipment Complex, the crown jewel of Russia's Baltic energy exports. Novatek is Russia's second largest LNG producer. This complex processes nearly 7 million tons of gas condensate per year, turning it into jet fuel, diesel, and petrochemical feedstock for export through Russia's shadow tanker fleet. It has 520,000 cubic meters of storage capacity, and a deep-water berth-loading tankers up to 120,000 deadweight tons. The port handles around 700,000 barrels of oil per day, roughly Colombia's entire daily output. Multiple oil storage tanks are set ablaze. Loading equipment is wrecked. The port is sealed off. By morning, crude oil operations at Ust-Luga are completely suspended. The fires are visible from Estonia, 35 kilometers across the water. The smoke drifts to St. Petersburg. Pulkovo Airport suspends all flights. Russia exports oil through 3 main western corridors: the Baltic ports of Ust-Luga and Primorsk, the Black Sea port of Novorossiysk, and the Druzhba pipeline through Ukraine to Hungary and Slovakia. By the end of March 25th, all 3 were compromised. The Baltic ports shut down by drone strikes, Novorossiysk operating below capacity from earlier attacks. The Druzhba pipeline effectively halted since January. Reuters calculated that roughly 2 million barrels per day, 40% of Russia's entire oil export capacity, was offline. The most severe oil supply disruption in Russia's modern history, and the timing is devastating for Moscow. The Iran war had shut the Strait of Hormuz, pulling a fifth of global oil off the market. Prices exceeded $100 a barrel. Russian crude had clawed back nearly to parity with Brent. The US had even temporarily lifted sanctions on Russian oil. The Kremlin was supposed to be cashing in on a once-in-a-decade windfall, and the attacks didn't stop. March 26th, the Kirishi refinery. March 27th, Ust-Luga and Primorsk again for the 3rd time in 5 days. March 29th, another wave. The SBU's Alpha unit leading, fresh damage at Ust-Luga. 5 consecutive nights. The same targets hit repeatedly before repairs can begin. NASA satellite data showed fires reigniting at both ports across the entire week. When your opponent's weapons cost $50,000 and your air defense missiles cost $1 million, attrition only works in one direction. When those weapons can navigate without GPS, fly below radar, and approach from directions you never expected, your layered defense system becomes a very expensive collection of equipment pointed the wrong way.